Richard, obviously you adore it and you're producing it, but there's a dead person in it. Why do we like it so much?
Well, the cosy bit of cosy crime, I've dealt with murders in real life as a vicar because they happen around. There's absolutely nothing cosy about that at all. The cosiness is the setting. You've got a tranquil English village in a shire county, you've got the vicar in the vicarage, you've got the toffs in the big house at the end of the lane, settled. We all know about that, and then it's turned upside down and somebody comes along and fixes it. And I think it works because it gives us reassurance that no matter how messed up the world gets, someone can come along and fix it and we'll be back to where we were.
And have we not to care about the person that's dead? We're not mourning that dead person. We don't know them that well, or they're a sort of tangential figure that we haven't really related to yet. Is that what it is?
Well, it's a sort of narrative thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't think you really sort of think about the concept. I mean, one of the things I like to use that genre is actually writing against the genre, because I am interested in the effect those sort of things have on people, particularly over time. Cosy crime suggests that, it's all fixed and sorted out and wound up in one go and everyone gets on with their lives again. It's not like that, actually. The repercussions continue and continue and continue. But I think it's that offer of reassurance. There was a big flourishing of English crime writing in the late 1930s, when I think people were sensing the world was menacing and a bit dark.
Yes.
And I think it's probably related to that.
And do you think it all started when we were playing Cluedo as children?
Started with me with Sherlock Holmes. I read the Sherlock Holmes short stories when I was 8. I liked it so much I made my mother buy me a deerstalker. I walked around Kettering with a deerstalker and a magnifying glass, and then some rough boys pushed me in the nettles, so hey.
I mean, you were asking for it, let's face it.
I was, literally asking for it.
Are you a fan of cosy crime?
Oh, I have a terrible confession. Of course, I will rush home after this and watch yours, Richard. But
you don't have to say that.
I've never watched cosy crime because...
Agatha Christie?
Never. I used to be a criminal defence barrister.
Richard Osman or anyone?
Nothing.
No.
And just like you were describing, I've dealt with, actual dead bodies and real horrible, terrible crime that we don't need to talk about here. And so cosy crime has never really sort of hit it for me, because I'm much more of a sort of, prime suspect, cracker, real cruel crime kind of gal.
Gosh.
You like to catch the bad guy, yeah? Or the bad girl?
Yeah, it's always nice if the bad person is cool, absolutely. But it sounds very reassuring to me, as I can see the appeal. So I'm going to break this taboo for myself.
Do it.
And I will go and watch some cosy crime.
Let me bring Jim into this. Are you a cosy crime fan?
100%. Absolutely loved last night's show. I thought it was brilliant, brilliantly cast. But the depth of the characters, it's the whodunit aspect. That's what we love in this country, because we're all armchair detectives, aren't we? And we all want to work out who did it. Oh yes, I got that, I worked that out. That's what we love. We love it. It's ingrained in British culture, I think, and it should be celebrated, from Midsummer Murders to all of those wonderful shows that we absolutely adore. Bring it on, more of it, please, Richard. I can't wait for the next 4 books.
And people who say it's kind of ghoulish, wouldn't it be nice for everyone just to have the tea and play the tennis and listen to the communards, and then nobody's dead and nobody has to worry about that? Because in my family, especially with the grandchildren, we call it JEP, as in short for Jeopardy. And they're all little and they don't like the JEP. They just need to know that everyone's going to live happily ever after and not watch the horrible bit. And I wonder whether we'd all like that.
I mean, the best reader, my best critic, is a friend of mine, Lorna, who knows her cosy crime fiction inside out, but she always reads the end of the book before she starts it. She's not interested in the whodunit. She just wants to, she likes the French windows opening and people playing tennis and the vicar coming in and going, where are my trousers,
Tell me about setting it in the 80s and what that involves, because if you try and sort of reconjure in your mind, what did it feel like, what were we wearing, what were we eating, what were we saying, what were we watching, it's quite hard to remember exactly what it was like.
Well, I mean, I loved the 1980s. It was the greatest decade in pop music in the history of sound, obviously. But also I think it was a time of great social change. And if you're interested in social change, people tend to think, well, look at London or look at New York or wherever. But actually social change happened in little villages in English shire counties too. And I wanted to write about that. And
so what sort of social change was happening?
Well, sexuality, I suppose attitudes to sexuality completely changed, really. I mean, if you look at the index of social attitudes, they virtually reversed in the course of that 10 years. So what was that? Why was that happening? What was happening in people's lives that made that all of a sudden make sense?
Why was it happening?
Well, I just think it was things like EastEnders, wasn't it? Breaking the mould, and the first ever gay kiss on television happened in the 80s. There was a lot of pushback at the time. It did move the conversation forward.
Yeah, and I think people are always looking for their livable life, and when you find that, it sort of changes the world a little bit.
What does that mean, their livable life?
Well, a life where you can thrive and not feel that you're living somebody else's idea of how you should live, but your own idea of how you should live, that enables you to thrive and live a happy life and make some other people happy too.
Do you think some people didn't know what their idea of a happy life was? Because if you haven't seen it modelled and you're not really sure, you kind of know that you're not fitting in quite right, but you're not quite sure what you should or would like to be doing instead.
The experience of being a vicar, again, tells me that lots of people never discover what their livable life is, or get there. It's wonderful when they get there in the end, even if sometimes you have to wait a long time.
Yes,
you can have the kinds of shows you were talking about without the jeopardy. Watch things like Downton Abbey. There you have exactly that sort of feeling without necessarily there being somebody on the, dead on the kitchen floor.
Except for Mr. Pamuk, of course.
Well, it did begin with sinking the Titanic as well, didn't it?
Do you think that the reason that you haven't watched it is because it's all too ordered, and your life, as you can see by the way you dress, is a much more of a walk on the wild side, and that's what you prefer?
That's why we love you.
I do like a walk on the wild side. What can I say? No, I think it's just really, it's never been something that I've sort of watched in my household. I know my mum wouldn't watch it. It's not really a family tradition. So perhaps I can start a new family tradition tonight with Oreo and Lara the cats. I'm open, receptive, not closed-minded.
It's a very pet-friendly experience.
Pet-friendly.
Yeah.
Middle ground as well, though, with shows. I grew up watching Bergerac. Do you remember that? A
Yes.
great show that
John
was.
Nettles.
Was it Jersey? In Jersey?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
With John Nettles, brilliant actor, and then
Columbo, you knew he would
Columbo,
find out
of
who
course,
it
yes.
was.
Oh, I like a whodunit. I do
Yes.
like a whodunit.
Yes.
So, I'm this has been my conversion. This is my moment. My life has been changed. Thank you.
I really love a whodunit, but especially if no one does anything. I like Woody Allen because, they wear lovely clothes and they have lots and lots of conversations about their feelings, but nothing happens at all. And then it's the end. That's what I like. Someone falls in love, someone doesn't. They might or might not have sex. They look great. Then it's the end. Marvellous.
But in
no
Columbo,
one gets killed.
we did know who done it, didn't we?
Yes, it started with knowing who did it. That's the whole premise of the show.
That's
wasn't it?
right, yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's a fascinating thing. Do you think you will, produce more because the appetite is undimmed? It just goes on.
I think as long as I'm interested in what the characters are doing, and also after 5 books, the story arc, some of the characters I can see going on a couple of books into the future. So I want to carry on doing that, as long as people want to read them, and especially as long as people want to make them into telly programmes. Yeah, be happy.
Susan's on Facebook, and Susan says, sometimes you want something light-hearted and not too brutal. Midsummer Murders, Father Brown, absolutely perfect. Did you try and watch lots or not watch any?
I didn't watch any at all, actually. I didn't. Do you know how many vicar detectives there are in fiction?
No.
200.
Wow.
And most of them written by people who aren't vicars. And I thought it would be interesting to write one from someone who's done the job.
Yeah.
And what do you think the insight brought to it?
Oh, well, I think partly vicars can get everywhere, OK? Put on a dog collar and no one will ask what you're doing. And also no one will sit next to you on the train, which is great, and tell them to put your bag. But I think also people think, still, even though people aren't particularly interested in going to church so much anymore, they're interested in the people who are vicars. I think there's something about memory, about someone in the community who you can confide in, someone you can confess to, and that takes you alongside these sorts of themes.
Charlie's on Facebook, and Charlie says, these cosy crime stories are appealing because despite the crime, they're set in a cosy world, which we have now unfortunately lost. It's amazing to me that the 80s feels cosy to us now.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't
Because
it?
it didn't feel so cosy at the time
Not at
for
all.
lots of people, yeah.
Not at all, and that was when greed was good.
But maybe, it's the things you're not aware of that you just take for granted are the things you later miss.
Yes, and do you think it always has to be a country setting? It kind of does, doesn't it?
I think so. Well, I mean, there's lots there. Well, there is noir, the whole genre of noir, which it might be more up your street, Sam, which is, the mean streets of, I don't know, Sutton Coldfield or somewhere.
Hemel Hempstead.
Does it have a mean street, Hemel Hempstead?
We should go and find out.
Are there any actors that you have got earmarked for future roles? Are there any, you see them in other things, or you actually meet them in person and think that you would be your...
Yes, but I've learned never to say so because you jinx it if you do that, don't you? But obviously, I'd like to make an appearance of myself, perhaps. I think Ryan Gosling would be much too obvious. I don't know. Maybe Tom Cruise.
But what the show had last night was that authenticity, because you wrote from your own experience, perhaps, as a vicar, because you do get under the skin of a community, you know the secrets, and actually that was sort of thread throughout the story.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant watch.
Thank you, Jim.
Fantastic.
I mean, you
writing.
said as a vicar, you did encounter some murders.
Well, I was in
inevitable,
central
gosh.
London, Vanessa. I was in Knightsbridge in
Right.
central London. Everyone thought, oh, you're going to stay in central London. But I went off to be the vicar of a parish in Northamptonshire, as a country parish, and people said, oh, you're going to get so bored, it'll just be school assemblies and stuff. And it was all that, but there was a murder in my first week.
In your first week?
Yeah, murders happen. And the consequences of murders just repeat and repeat and repeat in people's lives, and you're constantly dealing with it. Also, I've done quite a bit with in prisons with inmates, and so people's lives go wrong in all sorts of ways, and they end up in those sort of situations. And
tell me about the bit where, as a vicar, you are bringing succour to a bereaved family or a devastated widow or widower or whatever it is. Do you feel as if there are things that can be said that help, or do you feel as if you're just going through the motions and it's kind of platitudinous thing where you can't really help this terrible grief?
Well, no, I think there are forms of words that again offer reassurance. Often when people are in those so they want someone around who looks like they know what they're doing, who'll get them through the day. And if you can help someone get through the day, then you're doing pretty well. But also we stand in a tradition which offers to people this extraordinary idea that somehow on the far side of the worst day of your life, a possibility of something beyond that might be wonderful is there and waiting for you to walk into. And I think that has that's a powerful thing to say.